Hi, I'm Susan Keefe from Rhubarb Cod, and today I'm making roasted. Hi, I'm Susan. So that was awkward. Hi. Oh, hi. That's a cat jumping over. Okay. Follow me for more tips.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Susan Keefe from Rhubarb Cod, and today I'm making roasted cauliflower rarebit. Okay, so this might be a bit of an odd recipe for some, but I promise it makes a strange sort of sense. Welsh rarebit is a pub standard that features a thick ale and sharp cheese sauce slathered onto a toast and broiled until blistered and bubbling. Essentially, it's the best cheese on toast you'll ever indulge in. References to Welsh rarebit date back to the 1500s. As with any dish as old as this one, there are so many ways to prepare it that I couldn't possibly pinpoint the most traditional. So for today's recipe, I chose to draw inspiration from the Welsh rarebits I've enjoyed in the past. Now, before you at me for swapping the toast for a whole head of cauliflower, I would suggest you don't judge it so harshly. A whole head of cauliflower is actually very satisfying as long as you treat it right. And I chose to rarebitify a head of cauliflower for two reasons. Number one, it's a great way to make rarebit for a crowd. And number two, it's a tasty piece of nostalgia for any of us who were served steamed broccoli or steamed cauliflower with cheese sauce as kids. You can't say no to veggies when they're covered in cheese sauce. Parents are so clever. So that's the reasoning that went into this admittedly odd pairing, and the result is a delicious and strangely beautiful centerpiece for your dining room table. So let's get into it. We're going to start by preheating our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, we're going to create a spice paste for our cauliflower. I decided to kick it old school by using a mortar and pestle, but if you'd rather spare your forearms, you can do this in a food processor. Add 4 cloves of peeled garlic and a teaspoon of salt to your mortar and pestle. The salt will not only season our finished paste, it will also act as a grinding agent to help us break down the garlic. Once you reduce the garlic to paste, scrape it into a bowl and add 1 heaping tablespoon of whole grain Dijon mustard, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of mustard powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and half a teaspoon of cayenne. If you have a low heat tolerance, you can knock the cayenne back to a 1/4 teaspoon or use none at all, or you can add more if you'd like a little extra kick. Give everything a stir and stream in a 1/4 cup of olive oil. You should have a thick paste at this point. Line a large cast iron skillet with parchment paper and place a head of cauliflower in the center. Rub the cauliflower all over with the spice paste. Once the cauliflower is thoroughly coated, cover it with tin foil and place it in the oven. Roast for 50 minutes to an hour covered. While the cauliflower is roasting, thinly slice 1 large shallot or 2 small ones. Place them in a bowl and cover them with white balsamic vinegar. Set the shallots aside to pickle at room temperature for the duration of this recipe. Next, cut 2 thick slices of light rye bread. Arrange them on a small baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Give them a good drizzle of olive oil and a sprinkling of salt and roast them alongside the cauliflower for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes have passed, flip your slices and toast them for another 10. When the slices are golden on all sides, take them out of the oven and rub them all over with a clove of garlic. Break the toast up a bit with your hands and deposit the pieces into a large food processor. Pulse the slices until you have a mixture of fine and chunky breadcrumbs. Set them aside. By now, your cauliflower should be nearing the end of its initial roast. Take it out of the oven and remove the tin foil. If any of the spice paste came off on the tin foil, don't sweat it. Just smear it back on. If you're unsure of the doneness of your cauliflower, you can carefully flip it over and pierce the core with a knife. It should be soft, but still a little rigid. I was pretty confident my cauliflower was where I wanted it, so I didn't bother. Return the cauliflower to the oven and roast for an additional 15 minutes or until lightly charred. While your cauliflower is roasting for the second time, make your cheese sauce. In a small saucepan, melt 2 tablespoons of butter. Add 3.5 tablespoons of flour and whisk it into the butter to form a roux. This is more flour than I would normally add to a bechamel or mornay sauce, but I want my cheese sauce to be thicker than normal because I need it to stay on my cauliflower long enough to blister. To my roux, I'm going to add 355 milliliters or 12 fluid ounces of beer. I used a nice light ale for this, but I would imagine an amber or even a stout would work well. But bear in mind, if you use a stout, it will alter the color of your finished sauce. Gradually whisk your beer into the roux. Don't add it all in one go. This will make it harder for you to work the beer into the butter and flour mixture, which will result in a lumpy sauce rather than a smooth and silky one. Once the beer has been added, bring your sauce up to a simmer and let it thicken slightly. This doesn't have to be for a significant amount of time. Just wait until the bubbles breaking the surface of the sauce become a little more sluggish. Add 200 grams of shredded cheese. I used a 2-year-old Irish cheddar. Stir until the cheddar melts into the sauce. Finally, add 1 heaping tablespoon of whole grain Dijon and 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. Taste the sauce and add salt if needed. This will depend on the saltiness of the cheese you selected for your sauce. Take the sauce off of the heat and set it aside. When the cauliflower is done roasting, take it out of the oven and set the oven to broil. Ladle some cheese sauce over top of your cauliflower. You'll only need a few ladles worth of the cheese sauce for this. Once the cheese sauce is on your cauliflower, quickly return it to the oven and broil it until it blisters and bubbles. Be super attentive throughout this process. Broilers can get away from you and every broiler is different. You may have to rotate your cauliflower every so often to ensure it's browning relatively evenly. Once your cauliflower is browned evenly, take it out of the oven and transfer it to a platter. Top your cauliflower with the rye breadcrumbs, some freshly chopped chives, some fresh dill, and the shallots you pickled earlier. Warm the remaining cheese sauce and serve it alongside your roasted cauliflower rarebit for dipping. So that's everything you need to know about this roasted cauliflower rarebit. I know it may seem a bit strange at first, but really, is there any more natural pairing than cheese and cauliflower? I hope you give this showstopper a try. And if you do give it a go, let me know how it went in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to this channel. I post a new recipe every week and a ton of goodies along the way. Thank you for cooking with me. I'll see you all next time.